Have you ever stopped to think how far science can go in the pursuit of knowledge? Sometimes this journey leads down paths so strange, so unexpected, that they seem to have come straight out of a science fiction movie or a dystopian nightmare. And the most shocking thing is that these experiments actually happened. They were planned, funded, and executed by reputable scientists and institutions. Get ready to discover 10 scientific studies that defy logic, ethics, and sanity itself. Experiments that tested the limits of human obedience, explored the mind in terrifying ways, or attempted feats that still seem impossible today. Real facts that will surely make you question much of what you thought you knew about science and human nature. Today we're going to dive into a universe of scientific curiosities so bizarre that you'll have a hard time believing they are true. And to start our shocking list, let's talk about an experiment that forever changed our perception of authority. Imagine being invited to participate in a study on memory and learning, and suddenly finding yourself in a situation where you are instructed to apply increasingly strong electric shocks to another person, even while hearing screams of pain. This was the core of the infamous Milgram experiment conducted by Stanley Milgram at Yale University in the 1960s. Volunteer participants were randomly assigned as teachers, while an actor played the learner who was supposed to memorize word pairs. Whenever the learner made a mistake, the teacher was instructed by the experimenter to administer an electric shock, increasing the voltage with each error. There was a simulated shock machine with labels ranging from slight shock to danger, severe shock, and even XXX. The learner, actor, made mistakes on purpose and reacted with grunts, screams, and eventually total silence as the shocks increased. Many participants showed extreme discomfort, hesitation, and questioned the experimenter. However, the instruction, "Please continue," or "The experiment requires that you continue," was enough for most to proceed. The result was disturbing. The majority of participants obeyed until the end, administering the maximum shock labeled XXX. The Milgram experiment was not about memory, but about obedience to authority. It revealed a shocking willingness in ordinary people to inflict pain, even against their own conscience, simply because an authority figure ordered it. The implications for understanding historical atrocities, such as the Holocaust, were profound. It showed how social situation and obedience can override individual morality in terrifying ways. Despite severe ethical criticisms for the stress caused to participants, the Milgram experiment is a landmark in social psychology. It continues to be a grim example of how far submission to authority can take us. And what if obedience to authority isn't the only thing that transforms us? What would happen if you were put in a situation of power or helplessness without any preparation? Get ready for the Stanford prison experiment. In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo recruited volunteer college students to participate in a 2-week prison simulation. Randomly, half became guards and the other half prisoners. The prison was set up in the basement of Stanford's psychology department. The prisoners were arrested at their homes, taken blindfolded to the prison, stripped, deloused, dressed in uniforms, and assigned numbers. The guards were given uniforms, batons, whistles, and mirrored sunglasses to prevent direct eye contact. They were given few instructions, except to maintain order but not use physical violence. The result was shocking. Within days, the guards began displaying sadistic and authoritarian behavior, creating arbitrary rules, humiliating and punishing the prisoners in cruel and degrading ways. The prisoners, in turn, quickly developed signs of psychological breakdown, despair, and submission. Some showed initial protest, but were quickly subdued by the guards. The experiment spiraled out of control so quickly, with guards becoming abusive and prisoners suffering severe trauma, that it had to be canceled after just 6 days, far earlier than planned. The speed with which participants embodied their roles was terrifying. It showed the overwhelming power of social situation over individual behavior and how power dynamics can corrupt. The Stanford prison experiment, despite criticisms regarding the methodology and the participation of Zimbardo himself, who acted as the prison superintendent, is a disturbing case study on the effects of roles and hierarchies. It forces us to confront the darkness that can emerge when people are placed in positions of absolute power or total helplessness. A grim reminder that good people can do terrible things in extreme circumstances. From psychological experiments that expose the fragility of human morality, we move to something that sounds even more like cheap science fiction, the idea of controlling or disorienting minds using technology. During the Cold War, paranoia and the technological race led to secret research with objectives that seem completely insane today. One of these was what could be called Project Avert, or the Blob. Declassified documents revealed that American agencies, such as the Army and DARPA, invested in research on non-lethal weapons that could influence the behavior or health of individuals or crowds. One bizarre line of research explored the effects of high-power microwaves on the human brain. The idea was that these waves could cause disorientation, nausea, or even incapacitate people from a distance. There was even speculation about the possibility of cooking brains or inducing altered states of consciousness or panic using directed energy beams. It sounded like something out of a low-budget horror movie. Although the full extent of this research is still shrouded in secrecy and speculation, the confirmation that the government was, in fact, seriously investigating the use of electromagnetic energy for control or disorientation is genuinely frightening. The idea of an invisible weapon that can disturb your mind just with waves is so strange that it's hard to believe serious scientists even considered it. However, in the context of the Cold War, it seems few ideas were too crazy to be explored. Fortunately, or at least as far as we know, these technologies did not evolve into effective mind control weapons. But the mere existence of this line of research is a disturbing reminder of how far military science can go. Speaking of ideas that seem straight out of a cartoon, how about using pigeons to guide missiles? Yes, you heard that right. Pigeons. And it's not a joke. This was Project Orcon, led by the renowned psychologist B.F. Skinner during World War II. Skinner, a behaviorist famous for his experiments with operant conditioning, Skinner boxes with rats and pigeons, believed that trained animal behavior could have practical applications in warfare. The proposal was to train pigeons to recognize and peck at targets on a screen inside the nose cone of a missile. 3 pigeons would be used for redundancy, their pecks connected to sensors that would control the missile's flight surfaces. If the pigeons pecked at the center of the screen, the target, the missile would fly straight. If they pecked off-center, the sensors would correct the course. The accuracy of the pigeons in the laboratory was surprising for the time. As hilarious as it sounds today, Project Orcon received funding and was taken seriously by the U.S. military. They were desperate for any technological advantage. However, the idea faced skepticism, and more importantly, guided radar technology advanced rapidly, rendering the pigeon missile concept obsolete before it could be deployed. Despite never being used in combat, Project Orcon is a testament to the creativity and strangeness that can arise in the pursuit of innovation, even when it involves birds and weaponry. It's one of those historical facts so bizarre it seems like someone invented it for a sitcom. But no, trained military pigeons were a real thing, at least on paper and in Skinner's lab. From pigeons guiding missiles, we return to the darker side of secret science. Project MKUltra is perhaps the best-known and most disturbing example of scientific experiments conducted by the U.S. government that defy belief. Conducted by the CIA starting in the 1950s, MKUltra was a research and development program focused on mind control techniques, interrogation, torture, and psychological warfare. The experiments included the secret administration of psychoactive drugs, such as LSD and mescaline, to American citizens, often without their knowledge or consent, to study their effects on behavior. Other brutal techniques tested involved extreme sensory deprivation, hypnosis, psychological abuse, and even electric shocks at torturous levels, all in the hope of finding methods to control minds or extract information. The experiments were conducted in a variety of locations, including universities, hospitals, prisons, and even disguised brothels, Operation Midnight Climax, to test drugs on unsuspecting people. The program was kept in absolute secrecy, and most records were destroyed by the CIA in 1973 when the scandal began to be investigated. What remained, discovered by chance, revealed a terrifying picture of ethical abuses and crimes. Many participants suffered severe and permanent psychological damage, and at least one death is directly linked to the LSD experiments. The scale of the program and its utter disregard for human life are chilling. MKUltra seems ripped from a conspiracy thriller. The idea of your own government secretly testing mind control techniques on its population is so disturbing it's hard to process. But it happened. The full extent of MKUltra will likely never be known due to the destruction of the documents. But what we do know is enough to secure its place as one of the strangest, darkest, and most unethical scientific experiments in history. Leaving government secrets for the cutting edge or madness of surgery, how about the idea of transplanting an entire head? No, it's not just a science fiction concept from decades ago. It's something modern scientists are proposing and even testing. Italian surgeon Dr. Sergio Canavero gained international notoriety in recent years by proposing and planning the first successful human head transplant. He calls the procedure head anastomosis. The idea is to transfer the head of a person with an incurable bodily disease onto the body of a deceased donor. The monumental challenge is to reconnect the spinal cord and ensure proper vascular and nerve connection. Canavero claims to have developed techniques for fusing severed spinal cords and has conducted tests on animals, which he alleges had some success, and on human cadavers. The science behind his claims is highly controversial and widely criticized by the medical community. Skeptics point out the immense technical hurdles, especially the functional reconnection of the spinal cord, and the enormous ethical questions involving identity, brain death, and potential suffering. Despite overwhelming criticism, Canavero continues to promote his project and even announced, though without independent proof, that a surgery on a human cadaver was successful in terms of spinal and vascular reconnection. The mere proposal of transplanting an entire head is something so radical and outside the curve of conventional medicine that it seems utterly unreal. It's the kind of thing you see in classic horror movies or Frankenstein stories. But the fact that there is a surgeon in the 21st century seriously proposing this and claiming to have made research progress makes this experiment bizarrely real and raises deep ethical and philosophical questions about what it means to be human. And since we are in the realm of things that seem like the paranormal but were investigated by science or pseudoscience with scientific funding, we cannot leave out Project Stargate. Yes, the U.S. government, specifically the CIA and other intelligence agencies, invested millions of dollars over decades, primarily from the 1970s to 1990s, in researching psychic powers for espionage purposes. Project Stargate investigated phenomena such as telepathy, clairvoyance, and most notably, remote viewing, the ability to obtain information about a distant location or object without being physically present. The idea was to use individuals gifted, or claiming to be gifted, with psychic abilities to spy on enemy targets, locate hostages, or obtain secret information that would be impossible to get through conventional means. Scientists from reputable institutions, such as the Stanford Research Institute, were hired to try to validate these phenomena under laboratory conditions, although many skeptics viewed the research with great suspicion. The remote viewers produced reports and drawings that were handed over to intelligence analysts. Some results were vague and easily explained by coincidence, while others were strangely accurate. However, after decades of research and millions of dollars spent, an independent evaluation by the American Institutes for Research concluded in 1995 that the scientific evidence for the effectiveness of remote viewing was not convincing. Project Stargate was officially discontinued. But the mere fact that a superpower invested so much time and money trying to use psychic spies is incredibly strange and fascinating. It sounds like the plot of a supernatural spy series, but it was a real U.S. government initiative, born from Cold War paranoia and the desire to explore every possible avenue, no matter how bizarre. These experiments show us that science, in its relentless pursuit of answers, can sometimes cross ethical boundaries, delve into ideas that seem like pure fantasy, or reveal uncomfortable truths about human nature. From the impact of authority and situation, moving through bizarre attempts at mind control and animal weaponry, to extreme surgical audacity and the exploration of the psychic for espionage, they all seem too strange to be true. But they are real, and they leave us questioning. What other strange and secret experiments might be happening now? What bizarre things does science have in store for us in the future? Which of these experiments did you find most shocking or hardest to believe? Leave your opinion in the comments below. If you were intrigued by these strange stories and want to see more content like this, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Share this video with your friends who enjoy bizarre curiosities. And if you have suggestions for other strange and intriguing topics for us to explore, leave them in the comments as well. Your participation is essential. Thank you for watching, and until the next deep dive into the strange and fascinating world of science.